This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring a beautiful seasonal lighting display, and from Peterborough at Lisa's dining room table next to a sparkly fake Christmas tree. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Jamie Sobel Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now, here are two men who, post-turkey talk, feel now is the time to take on gingerbread, shortbread, and fruitcake. It's your go-to source for Christmas controversy, Humble and Fred.
No, very funny, Dan Duran.
Oh, that's good, Dad. That's very good.
It's very, very good.
I read like that is a hard-hitting news guy.
Yeah,
you did.
No, but it's true.
Yeah,
there's that Christmas cake, that fruit cake controversy that sort of rages on year to year, and two sides to that. And then there's other people that don't like shortbread, others that do. And
I think the Christmas cake thing, I don't know if it's raging on. I don't know that it's raging. I like shortbread. I never used to. I didn't grow up with it. It was just something that wasn't in my family's, seasonal offerings. But later on, I grew to really like it. You ever had like really good shortbread, like it melts in your mouth shortbread?
Well, I think she's made them for you guys. Yeah. Those round sandods or whatever, dots or daubs, she calls them. That's shortbread, and yeah, they melt in your mouth. Lovely with a cup of tea.
So is that the solution for shortbread? A cup of tea?
No. So many. Well, again, you question my description of, the fruit cake. Something that, as long as I can remember. Even the other night we were discussing it when I was with some gentlemen, and the fruit cake thing. It just seems to persist. And I love fruit cake in all its forms. And there's other people that are just absolutely appalled by it. But
where were you? Were you at a function, a round table? Did you have? Was there a community event? Where were you?
A round table.
I went to a hockey game in Guelph on Friday night with alternate Earl and Jamie and Darren, and we were sitting there talking, having a beer, and that came up. Actually,
what was the hockey game in Guelph?
It was just the Guelph Storm, and it was just had the idea. Why don't we meet at the game and have something we had talked about. Have you ever been to downtown Guelph?
I can't say that I have. I've flown into Guelph before, but I don't know if I've been downtown.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, the main area where the hockey rink is, it's just beautiful. All these bars and restaurants and the lighting and the atmosphere, and it was Christmassy, and it really was something. It gets a guy to thinking maybe I should move there. But
that would be a possible solution for your Brampton problem.
Yeah. So anyway, it came up, and the fruitcake thing. And my dad used to, when he worked at Loblaws for 47 years, he'd bring home the tin of sort of the hard fruitcake, and a lot of people wouldn't touch it. I loved it with a cup of tea. Did. Maybe some butter. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, if you warm up anything and put butter on it, it definitely elevates the flavor.
Okay, dog shit? Is that true? Yeah, but if you did that with dog shit.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. If you warm up. Listen, you're talking to fucking dog shit expert over here.
I know, that's why I said.
I'm at the house.
Get some of that dog shit, put butter on
it. Put some nice butter on dog shit. You got yourself a flavorful snack. FYI, just the dog shit diarrhea. We've dialed down the diarrhea. We're going to come back to the Christmas cake. Dan, I've dialed down my grandpa or grand doggy. Billy has had a semi-solid offering today, and everyone's
that's a relief.
It is a relief.
Did you have a conversation about, hey, I've just had the carpets cleaned. Don't you dare do anything to these carpets. They must stay clean for a week.
Yes, I did speak in dog language to her. I was proud of the fact that now over 2 different dogs in the space of a week, both have had diarrhea, and I still haven't had to go to the vet. I've avoided that.
Yeah. We were talking yesterday afternoon, Howard and I. Let me put it this way before we get back to the fruitcake.
I want to come back to the fruitcake.
Okay. You know this whole bubble wrap culture we're in now with kids? Bubble wrap era we've talked about. Do you not think that applies to dogs a bit too? Like when I was a kid, if our dog had the shits, my mom and dad would say, just put her outside until she's over it or something. You know what I mean? It was
yeah. Have her go live with the coyotes for a couple of days. See how she feels.
You know what a dog had to be, what a situation a dog had to be in to take it to the vet when I was a kid. Like it just wasn't part of your world.
Oh yeah.
And if the dog had the shits, seriously, they'd just say, "Oh, put her outside." That would be the remedy until she's over it. But I was saying to Howard, even when my son's dog was sick a couple of weeks ago, I'm worried all day. How's Dougie? And what's the vet going to say? It's like, what's happened to us?
Well, and that's what the conversation was. I'm more worried over this dog because it's Charlie's, my daughter's dog. Mm-hmm. And I was saying to Fred, like, I took them out for a walk yesterday, and I have Stan on a leash. She's my dog. And I walked through the residential part of this neighborhood to this park, and then on the way home, walked along the Queensway. So I've got her leash wrapped around my hand because if one of the dogs gets loose, I want it to be my dog.
No, exactly.
Because if Charlie's dog gets loose and gets run over, one of these like, and it's dead, then I've got to call Charlie and say, "Hey, great news! Diarrhea is cured."
Yeah.
Well. The diarrhea is gone, and so is Billy.
That dog is you just have to worry that you're going to step on it.
Oh, absolutely. But yes, to that point, though, Fred, after we finished talking yesterday afternoon in the high-level business, another thing I thought of, when I was a kid, when we were kids, I never once saw a dog with a coat. Never.
Oh, no.
But this dog of Charlie's, like, it's so pampered. Like I'm out yesterday, it's got a harness that Charlie uses instead of like a collar, and I have to put the coat on the dog. So I'm walking around with my dog, who's like wandering around, just doesn't give a shit, and her dog, which is in a little fancy dog coat.
Have I never told? I think I've told you this story years and years and years ago when I had my dog Barney, and I couldn't wait to get a dog, and I got the dog, and everybody was excited for me because I got this dog Barney. My aunt at Christmas bought a sweater for Barney, the dog. This is back in the 60s. And it just happened to be a Montreal Canadian sweater. No word of a lie. And I remember opening it and thinking, well, it's weird. A sweater for a dog? Back then, it was like...
It was unheard of.
And then on top of that, it was a Montreal Canadian sweater. So the dog never wore the sweater. But Dougie, these French bulldogs, they hate the cold, eh? They hate the heat and they hate the cold. And this guy literally has to have a coat on. It's something. And like,
when we got Stan, go ahead.
I was just saying, Howard, I think we both come more from farm dog.
We're from farm dog stock, farms.
Yeah, it's like, and you're like, when I was growing up, there was animals weren't allowed in the house. I mean, it was just not. We didn't have a cat, and when we did have a dog, it was an outside dog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, again, I remember my street on Henry Street in Moose Jaw. There was lots of dogs. We never had a dog growing up because my brother Steve in Edmonton, Steve was allergic to it. We actually had a dog for about a month, and Stephen wouldn't stop sneezing and being all allergic. Back in those days, people just... so we got rid of the dog. But there was lots of dogs in my neighborhood, and I could play with all of them because they were always out on the street, none of which were wearing dogs in Moose Jaw, minus 45. They're just out there shitting, coming back in. That's the other thing. People just... Do you guys remember anybody picking up dog shit? Because they didn't.
No. We've talked about that.
They did not.
We've talked about that many times in the show over the years. The dog shit thing, it's like, no, you just open the door, you let your dog out to have a shit. You had no idea. And you had shit on your lawn. It wasn't your dog shit, it was somebody else's shit. But that was okay because you knew your dog was shitting on their lawn, because dogs don't like to shit on their own lawn if they can't. If they don't have to.
Back in the 60s, we called that the shit reciprocity pact that we had with you. We would reciprocate by picking up the shit on our lawns because of that. The other thing about having, and you've mentioned this with your dog, where Danny's dog, Dougie, taking care of my daughter's dog gives me more stress and anxiety because I'm worried for her. She's away, and she's texting me all day. How's Billy? And it was just, so now it's like, okay, I just can go back to just taking care of it as opposed to trying to decide if I have to take it to the hospital.
You wouldn't believe, and I know exactly what you're talking about because I feel the same way about Dougie or Winnie, but we tend to get Dougie more. But you should see Doll with Dougie. You talk about protective. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, because the dog means so much to Danny. He doesn't have kids, and I guess maybe that's the connection. I don't know. But they're so close and so tight. The whole time we have Dougie, Doll's literally beside herself. Like, watch this, watch that. When you take him out, do this, do that. You know, it's like, whoa.
So if Doll's beside herself, which one do you decide to talk to during the day? The doll or the doll that's beside herself? Back to the...
both.
You know... Growing up, little Jewish boy in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, I didn't celebrate Christmas. I didn't have any Christmas way into my teens. Dan Duran, when he came to Moose Jaw and we became fast friends, we invited Dan, my mom and dad, Lou and Luba Glassman, invited Dan to our house because you were, for some reason, you had to stay in for the holidays, but part of the holidays you were in Moose Jaw. So my parents invited Dan over, and we didn't have any. There was no Christmas tree. There was no Christmas stuff.
But you had bagels.
Yes, of course we did. There was our whole furniture scheme was made of bagels. Fucking bagels. This was Moose Jaw. We didn't have. It's not like everywhere there are Jews, bagels just start growing in the wild.
Dad said, "Fuck Christmas. I'm going for the bagels."
Yeah, it was Moose Jaw. We were less likely to have bagels than.
All right.
My point is, the piano was made of bagels.
That's right. Everything was bagels.
Feet were bagels.
Dan came in and went, "Is this couch made of bagels?" I said, "Of course it is, Dan. We're Jews."
Beanbag bagel couch. Yeah,
that's right. It was a beanbag bagel couch. Dan Duran for the win. My point is, all the traditional stuff that you guys grew up with around Christmas cookies, shortbread, decorating trees, Christmas cake, all of that came to me later in life. Like, wasn't part of my childhood. So my taste for those things was formed as an adult. So, Christmas cake, I never understood what the big controversy was because it was just like a shitty cake. It's like, it's like, oh, it's just hard and it's full of weird dried fruit.
Yeah.
Initially, and you're going to not like this, I initially didn't like shortbread. I didn't get it until I had good shortbread.
Well, that's like anything else. I get it. I've had bad shortbread. Absolutely.
But you know what I mean? Like entry-level shortbread. Like, not all of it's great. Entry-level. Not all of it's great. Some of it's good.
Yeah.
But when
this is from No Frills.
Right. Or whatever. But I remember distinctly not liking it early on. And then someone like your wife, Fred, or somebody introduced me to, like, well-made shortbread, really light, tasty, light. It's got that melt in your mouth feel, and I can
eat
acres.
There's good English ones. Yeah.
Yes,
there's good English ones.
Yeah,
but no, I get it. I know what you're saying.
I'm more of the in the fruit bread zone. I look forward to a fruit when I see a fruit bread. I mean, I won't eat a lot of it, but I'll go in and say, okay, I got to try that. See where on the fruit bread scale it is. Some of them they're infused with brandy or I don't know, some sort of alcohol, and others are lighter, more bread like. Then I'm ready for it.
And Delisa's mom makes a Christmas cake where it's not hard. It's almost it's spongy.
Really?
It's delicious.
What else is like that in your family?
and then you put warm custard over it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Here's another thing that is, we Jews would say is a very goyim, non-Jewish tradition that I love is bread pudding. Like that was something that was not part of this. It's not part of our world, But I've had it a few times. Again, when you pour that warm custard or whatever it is over the pudding, it's unbelievable.
No, I know Doll loves bread pudding. Whenever we go to a restaurant and it's on the dessert menu, we get it. I think the Cheesecake Factory has a good bread pudding that she likes.
Dan, Fred, what about figgy pudding? Anyone know what that is? Is that what we're talking about? Is that also AKA Christmas cake or whatever?
Well, yeah, because the fruit cake that came in the tin that was hard when I was a kid that my dad would get. It had figs in it, and you know, just a little hint of fig in something is very nice.
Yeah,
you know, Howard,
plum pudding in there in that category too. Comes in
that I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
But Howard, you know, at Scadabouche, we've had that where you order the ball of buffalo cheese or mozzarella cheese that's made on site, and then they give you some fig sort of jam or fig, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I guess like jam. That's what a combination that is with a nice salty cracker.
Yeah. Well, this is the show. Today on the show, Larry Fedoruk, we did 15 minutes on fruitcake. Fruitcake. What did you guys talk about? Fred,
remember that was... What?
Write that down. Because an hour and a half from now, you're going to say to me, what did we talk about for the first 15 minutes? And none of us
I haven't asked you the past couple of days because I've been doing that, but thank you for telling me.
No, I know all of us will forget it was 15 minutes on fruitcake.
Right.
And furniture made of bagels.
Do you remember when fruitcake was a derogatory term for a homosexual person?
I do.
Yeah. Thank God we've passed that. Thank God that's in the rearview mirror. People don't stoop to those depths anymore. But, oh, yeah. Back when I was he's a fruitcake.
Whenever I hear you say, thank God, I want to, that's almost like I have a spit take. I'm like,
well, in this case, I have to
yes,
thank the
Dios, Dio míos, mío Dios, Dios mío. Dio míos, whatever. Yeah, you know what, Dan? Did you ever use derogatory terms for homosexuals as a young man, Dan?
Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But not,
even the great Dan Duran?
Yeah, probably when I was growing up. Didn't, so changed, I think the word fairy was used a lot.
Yes, well, that was back in the 30s when you were a kid. People were called fairies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Scarborough, people used to say he's a mo.
Mo's big.
Really, that's... it's the 60s. People were ill-equipped. We didn't have knowledge. It was ignorance. Absolutely, it was.
Did you ever say to somebody...
Shameful, but it happened.
Did you ever say to somebody, stop mowing me?
Yeah. Oh, fuck, he's trying to mow me.
Don't stop mowing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens, because... That's our lexicon around... not just homosexuals, but other people. Let's be fair that back in the 60s and 70s when we were all being formed, forget just homosexuals. Think of all the horrible things we said about other ethnicities and people who were special needs. I'm just going to say it. I must have said the word retarded or retard a billion times in my childhood. Something was retarded. That guy's a retard. Don't be retarded. I'm not the only one. Don't look at me, Dan, like you never said it.
No, I was just evaluating in our society how we moved away from that. And you're right, Fred. It's so much about ignorance because I never felt that anybody who I met like that, that was it's like, okay, well, they are that way. And I'm, have patience for whatever, their problems were.
Yeah, did you?
While
calling them retards?
Yeah. Well, I didn't, not to their face, obviously, because it wasn't connected.
No, I get what you're saying. We were all nice people who just used terrible words.
Yeah.
And guys, the thing is, and again, not that it's any excuse, you really didn't know what you were saying. You didn't fully appreciate the depth of the problem and how, it affected other people's lives. You just didn't, on the corner of on Bertrand and Mozart, right near my house, there was a girl named Margaret, and she was a bit, I don't even want to say off, but there was something different about her. We just called her Mental Margaret. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the neighborhood. Where are you? I'm just down over by Mental Margaret's house. This is the type of thing that took place. And again, I'm not proud of it, but it just happened without fully appreciating what the struggle that her family was having with her. You know what I mean? It's like what they had to deal with. Kids, Kids aren't saying those things now, though. They're not.
Well, who knows? I mean, they're probably saying stuff because they're kids, and they're, part of ignorance comes from being young. You're ignorant because you haven't been exposed to the world, and you haven't developed empathy. I lived, so I'm on Henry Street. The street directly to the end of my street to the west was a school called John Chisholm. I've told you about it. It was a complete school for special needs kids. Do you think we ever called it anything but the retard school? Never.
No.
But I'm going to tell you, in the 60s, I've said this to you before on the program, the things that were said to me, forget that forget the furniture in my house all being made from bagels, which is funny. The things that were said to me and my brothers and other little Jewish kids in Moose Jaw was insane.
Oh, I bet.
Just insane, the things that were said. But the funniest thing is, they're still being said to Jews. Sorry for getting a little preachy there, what with all the Jew hate. But
what's the story? The one that just breaks my heart is the Charlie story with the pennies. Like,
oh yeah,
how do you not want to go and kill those fucking parents?
Do you know that story, Dan?
Yeah, no, I heard it a couple of days ago on the show. Or
a couple of days ago, really?
No, we didn't say it. It was a while back.
Oh, okay.
No, I know. I lose track of time, too.
No, it's fine. But, that free people don't know. As recently as my daughters having pennies thrown at them because they were Jews, because they're, the Jews counting them being penny pinchers. It's funny. Not funny, but interesting. There's so many other cultures in the world, Indian especially, that have a reputation, in fact, proudly, for being cheap, for being penny pinching, thrifty. Yet that stereotype endures. And again, it was stuff that was said to me in my youth is just crazy, the shit.
And often that's cultural. I mean, and I'm just going to be honest, and I won't say who, but I've been told if you sell your house in Brampton now, be prepared for an adventure, because every tactic to save $1 will be used against you. So just prepare yourself for it. It's a cultural thing. And again, no one's to blame, but often that's how business happens in other places, and then it happens here. That's just the truth. What I've been told.
There are other societies more of a negotiating
absolutely
society.
And it's not just Indians. It's not just Jews. It's Scottish. There's multiple cultures that are sort of known for being deal makers or thrifty or cheap.
Yeah. And it is part of the culture. Like, if you go there, it's like you're expected to negotiate. That's part of the it's not, there's no prices on things. You start out with, kind of aware of what things should cost, and then you start bartering or whatever it is, to get your price in the end. And most of them don't expect it on the first.
No, absolutely. But the phrase, and I'm going to say it because I can, and it's been said to me, and I want to tell the story again, but the phrase "Jew him down," I've heard it as an adult. That phrase doesn't seem to exist for me. At least I've never heard somebody say, well, why don't you Indian them down?
No, and what's sad about that is when somebody says, probably in a lot of cases, maybe not so much in this era, but traditionally when they say Jew them down, they don't even think about what they're saying. You know what I mean? It is an attack on a Jew, but it's not like a conscious attack on a Jew. They've just heard it, so they use it. You know what I mean?
It's disconnected from the actual meaning of it.
Yeah. It doesn't make it any less offensive, but you know what I mean? It's not really done with malice per se.
Now, I don't know how much I want to bite into with this subject now, because it's it's a little bit heavier. It's a level down from what we're talking about in terms of ignorance, anti-Semitism, and it started off with that question Fred said. Think about what we used to say about homosexuals in the 60s, calling them fruitcakes. And
it started out with shortbread. Really.
It started out with shortbread. I know.
No, fruitcake, actually.
Well, no, you did start with fruitcake. We transitioned to shortbread, and we came around a little bit
to
there.
homosexuals.
Yeah, write that down, Fred.
Write that down. It's a complicated beginning to the program. So, I've saved a couple of stats because let's say all the people we're talking about, Indians and special needs people, homosexuals, other ethnicities, just before I give you this stat that I'm going to share with you, think about what we called Chinese people. Think about what we all referred to anybody else, Indians in the 60s and 70s, Pakis, and all the things we said.
Yeah.
And for the most part, in our lifetimes, the three of us have seen an abatement of that kind of talk. Our kids don't talk that way. We don't talk that way anymore, except for one group. Last month, Israel's Ministry for Diaspora Affairs, I'm not sure I never know if I'm saying that right. It means people. The diaspora is the Jews, being dispersed around the world. Anyways, this minister found a 670% increase in anti-Semitic incidents. Guess where that was?
In the U.S.
Canada.
Oh, Canada. Yeah, I'm not surprised either. No.
670% increase since October 7th, including, this is against Jews, by the way, kids. I know anti-Semitism. I figured out you'd get that. Violent attacks such as shootings targeting Jewish institutions and arson attacks targeting schools, synagogues, and other community institutions. There are about 40 million Canadians, and roughly 350,000 of them are Jews, representing less than 1% of the population. There are now, by the way, 1.8 million Muslims in Canada. And in this study, they surveyed all these Muslims, and they found that more than 40% of them surveyed said the suicide bombings targeting Israeli citizens is justified. More than a third said Jews are not entitled to a state of their own. And a majority, 54%, described Israel as an apartheid state. Full 60% said Zionism is racism. So all that stuff that we've been talking about, people have evolved and they don't speak that way anymore, except when it comes to this tiny group of people. And again, I know we've delved into this before, but isn't that crazy? Here in Canada, a 670% increase.
Yeah, but again, it's so much of that was birthed outside of Canada. We've always had this naive attitude in Canada that people come to Canada and as soon as the plane lands, they're not going to think the way they did in the country they came from. And it's just not true. And why would we expect that? And you've actually got to understand how people from different cultures come here and bring those cultures and attitudes here. And the thing is, it's just like, I've always pushed back against, affirmative action and stuff like that. It's going to take a couple of generations for that stuff to go away. And hopefully that does too, Howard. I know listen, and you can be, you can be a cynic. I totally understand that. But that's our only hope. I'm watching the news last night. It was some school in Scarborough. They're doing this fundraising thing. And I looked at the classroom of the kid, and there was one of everything, or two of everything. You know what I mean? Black kids, brown kids, Asian kids, white kids. And they're all in the classroom together. By the time they're adults, that's going to be their world. So you just hope, that a lot of this stuff goes by the wayside, that their parents won't have the effect on them that they could.
Listen, I hope you're right. Where I become, what's that?
I hope I am too.
No, God willing. God willing.
What else is there?
Well, I hope you're right. Where I think, I'm cynical as to the progress being made, and this is why, Dan, sometimes I get overwrought pushing back against religion. Because if I said to you guys, hey, by the way, there's been a 600 plus percentage increase in anti-Muslim.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
If it was targeting mosques and other Muslim institutions, shooting them, arson attacks, if that was Muslims, we'd all be freaking the fuck out every day.
Our hair would be on. Absolutely, I totally get it.
People would be, and so why it bothers me the most about is that it is because your point about you fly off, get off the plane from wherever you came from, and you come here, and we think you're supposed to be instantly assimilated and have our Canadian values. But where we don't, where it breaks down, is you get off the plane, you got on the plane a Muslim, you got off the plane a Muslim, and you believe that Jews shouldn't have a state of their own here in Canada. There's so many protests in Toronto. We just take it for granted. You guys don't even, most of it doesn't even, make the news anymore, but it's happening every weekend. And it's happening because of this ridiculous thing that we have going in this planet, which is dividing ourselves. We are divided by religion. We're not brought together by religion, and that's what bugs me.
It's horrible.
Okay, so I'm
not saying. Listen, I'm going to just cut you off quickly. I'm not saying that people who are religious are evil as individuals, but we are divided by religion, Dan. It doesn't bring people together.
Right, now, but what I was going to point out is that you made a comment about Muslims not being targeted. Well, they were during after 9/11, and whatever's going on in Israel right now, whatever side you're on, that has also exacerbated or highlighted the if you had some sort of feeling against Jewish people, it's highlighted that and given more because there's some atrocities on both sides over there. I don't know what. I know you don't feel the same way, but I think that there's been a huge overreaction.
No, I do feel that. No, that's not true. I've had that discussion with you. I do feel the same way. I think
those are two different issues.
No, but I am on record. I've been on record saying that I do. I empathize with the situation of the people in Gaza, but a lot of it was brought on because of the terrorist group for the last 20 years that runs the state. What I'm talking about is after 9/11. By the way, great point. After 9/11, there still wasn't the amount of Muslim-targeted, attacks the way that has been way overdone the response to Jewish people around the world. There was nothing like it with Muslims. Absolutely. I would defy you to say there was a 670% increase in anti-Muslim sentiment in Toronto, Canada after 9/11. I don't remember people marching down saying, from the river to the sea, let's get rid of all Muslims. Don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think anybody on either side of what either Muslims or Jews feel that way at all. I don't think that 100% of all people feel that Jews must be eliminated. I don't. If you're a Muslim, that's not part of the the mandate.
Yeah, it is.
So no, it's not.
It is. It's in the Quran. It's part of the infidels getting it. They want to get rid of everybody who doesn't think the way they do, whether it's Jews or Americans. And again, I go back to 2001 because I was still alive then. I was doing a radio show. I don't remember reporting on the kind of, sure, there was some anti-Muslim pushback. Absolutely there was. And there was Muslims being targeted at airports, etc.
And there was mosques. There mosques that were
not to the level around the world like this has been. And remember, Jewish people are less than 1% of the population of this planet.
Okay.
It's way beyond. Like I used to do the joke about how Jews punch way over their weight, punch way above their weight in terms of hatred, and always have.
And I'm not arguing that point, but the increase right now is probably something to do with what's going on in Israel right now.
Absolutely, it is.
In the last year.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
but years. But just quickly,
just
quickly, Fred. Sorry, just quickly. The years prior to Hamas of 2023, the number one hate crimes in Toronto for the last 10 years, still Jewish.
Right.
So that's not
the point.
There was no atrocities in Gaza. Yes, there was. I know that. But I'm just saying, we've been the target for way more than we certainly deserve population-wise. Which is why I have boycotted Turkey.
I hear Turkey's great, but that's what I would have said. The recent actions by Israel have given people an excuse to sort of amplify their hatred because it's always been there. We've seen it long before, October 7th happened. We often would talk about the statistics here in Toronto. The number one hate crime was against Jews. Forget any other minority group. It just was. And again, we can't. And then you gave those statistics off the top, Howard, about what's going on here in Canada. Again, we can't downplay the Trump effect. His whole thing of enabling America's underbelly and horrible people, it had an effect here. All the fucking no mind fucking simpletons up here, they gravitated to that. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and it gets back to what we said at the very, very beginning. It all comes from ignorance. You know what I mean? If you watch Donald Trump and you find something redeeming about that and think, okay, now I have an excuse, you're a simpleton. You're ignorant. You know, it's like, again, this morning, last night on Truth Social saying Canada should be the 51st state. Well, that's an insult to this country. Yet there will be people in this country this morning going, yeah, you know, that's a good idea, because they're simpletons. They don't look at the depth of the situation. They think, oh, yeah, I'd like to have an American dollar in my pocket. That'd be great. Mm-hmm. That's how far it goes with these fucking assholes.
And we talked about his, because he posted again. Yeah. He posted yesterday, and this is like the third time now he's posted about us being the 51st state. And I said to Fred, Dan, before the show began, I said, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. But meanwhile, all these talks about tariffs are, you know, killing the economy. And, you know, the markets are now down. The loonie's below 70 cents for the first time in, I think, since 2022, or where was it? Was it
20? I think
2020, something like that. Yeah. So, yeah, it's all. And again, I know I'm conflating. That's what people do. I'm going, okay, we're religion and Israel, and I know it's complicated.
Yeah, but
what's not complicated to me?
They deserve to be conflated because it's all one and the same.
That's what I was going to say. What's not complicated to me is, and I know I can't find any. I've said this 1,000 times now. If this were any other group, you know, if there was a protest this coming weekend in downtown Toronto, as an anti-Muslim protest, it would never get off the ground. If there was thousands of people saying, "Go home, Muslims, go get back to your fucking shithole countries," people would lose their minds. But it's okay when it's anti-Israel. And that's where I say, you know,
I don't agree with that. I don't think that it's not okay for either side, and I don't think that the majority of people on either. Well,
I agree with
either
you.
Muslims or are not going to say
it's not okay, but it seems to be like you guys, you know, you think I'm pro Trudeau. Where I fucking can't believe our prime minister is how he and the Liberals have allowed all of this to go on. Like, it's been a year and a bit now. Where's the government saying you can no longer do this? You can't be barring people. What?
I know why. It's all, Howard. It's the same reason Canada in the very beginning, opened the floodgates. Listen, immigration is big fucking business. You want those votes. And the reason they don't push back against Jews, you answered it by giving the numbers. How many Jews, how many Muslims, how many people who hate Jews? There's way more votes in the anti-Jew world than there is in the Jew world. That's the beginning, the middle, and the end of it.
That's when somebody who's looking to run in your riding comes to your door and says, "Hey, we're looking for the anti-Jew vote. Can we count on can we count on you?"
Don't need to say it.
So that's where I'm disappointed. And again, I didn't want to get it. I've been saving this for a couple of days now. I saw this article.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up because it should be talked. And Dan, and I admire Dan on so many levels. But one thing I will say, saying, well, it's not everybody is never going to get you to any kind of solution. Sometimes people have to be called out if we're going to get anywhere. And by saying, well, it's just not everybody. Yeah, but it's enough that we've got a problem here that's got to be dealt with, And how that looks, I don't know. But something should be done. Jewish people shouldn't continuously have to put up with that in Canada. And again, Israel's Israel. But if you not have a brain in your head here in Canada to look at a Jewish person and think, well, they really don't have anything to do with what's going on in Israel, just like we were expected to do that for Muslim people with what was going on in the Middle East. It's not these people. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if those people here want to create problems here because of what's going on over there, we got to call them out on it.
Yeah,
sorry, we do.
Whatever religion you're talking about, I agree. There's no whatever one. If it's Muslim, if it's the Jewish people, if it's any other country that this is happening with, absolutely, I totally agree with that.
Well, listen, I would just like to finish this whole discussion by trying to estimate how many levels we admire Dan on. You said you admire him on so many levels. I would like to. I would like to bid. I'm going to bid. Okay. How many levels do I admire Dan on? I'm going to say in the early 30s, 32 to 33 ways that I admire Dan. Fred, how many levels do you admire Dan on?
Several, but one, and again, not to be serious, many times over the past 30 years or whatever, I've known Dan. You know, when my trigger has gone off and I've been fiery, it's been Dan that might say something where I go, yeah, right, maybe I should pull this back a bit, to be honest. You know.
Gee, I haven't had one of those. And I've known.
Well,
I'm
honestly,
kidding, Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah, I know you are.
I've got to be honest, yet at the same time, I don't hesitate to say what I just said a few minutes ago. I mean, just saying it's not everybody is just not good enough because it's not solving anything. So, anyway.
I would just like to, just one thing I want to reiterate what I said, Dan, and I've said it many other ways, but I think today I think I said it in a way that I express exactly how I feel. Religion is not uniting people anymore. It may unite them inside a community, and I totally get that. It may unite inside a family. It unites us. It can unite in ways that is familiar and whatever, but it divides more than it unites, which is why for 45 years that you've known me, it's always irked me. Mm-hmm. And again, think about where I grew up. I grew up with, full circle now in this conversation, grew up with people saying cheap Jew, dirty kike, why'd you kill Christ? That's how I grew up. So my first introduction to religion, seriously, my first introduction to religion was like, wait a second, I play on the St. George's hockey team with all these guys. Why is it that? Pardon me?
It's more racism, I would say, than it is. That's racism to me.
Well, whatever it is, it was because of the religion I belonged to.
Right. Hey, listen, the one that fascinates, and because no one is better than the other, or, what happened in Ireland always blows me away. These people look exactly the same, and one's Catholic and one's Irish. And even when I was in Ireland in 2019, and again, I don't know if I'm getting this completely right, but it was a shocking moment for me. I think I was in Northern Ireland, right? But I was in a store and I thought I was in Ireland still or something. And I said something about Ireland. You know how quickly the woman at the cashier corrected me? You're in Northern Ireland. This is not Ireland. And it was like a moment like, wow, okay. And where do you think that comes from?
And
the divide, yeah.
Well, and
the divide over what? Over what?
Yeah, exactly. Over what?
Well, it was two different versions of
of a fake, two different versions of a fake construct. I mean, and by the way, we got to get going because Larry's standing by. But I just read an article yesterday. One of the most anti-Semitic places on earth, Ireland, for some reason. Daniel, thank you for
Guinness. It's the Guinness talking.
Dan, I've successfully downloaded the Christmas version of your news jingle, so that's all ready to go.
Oh, fantastic!
That happened during this fiery discussion. Religion.
So you were focusing on how to do a download on your computer that's been frustrating you for months now, and solve that problem.
Solved it, just
and
like
solve
that.
The problem of religion at the same time.
Solved it all last 45 minutes.
Wow, that's great.
All right, Dan's news is
back to fruitcake.
Let's get back to fruitcake. Dan's news is coming up. Retirement Sherpa today as well. Larry Fedoruk will join us in just a second.
This is Christmas, and what have you done? Another year over.
Yeah, we'll chat with broadcaster, smart guy Larry Fedoruk in a second. But first, here's the Fred Man talking about some stuff.
Yeah, just a quick note. I overheard, or I watched, or it was part of a discussion. Well, I wasn't part of it. It was on television, a discussion about... Let's talk about the big four sports in North America. Josh Allen is the number one, hands down, star athlete of the big four sports. Beyond
Josh.
Connor McDavid, beyond LeBron, he is right now, and that really is something. And I couldn't argue. I thought, who is more impressive within their sport than Josh Allen right now. Anyway.
Is he, because I heard those, I didn't hear that discussion, but on the game the other day, there was some talk, I think Tony Romo and it was Nance talking, that he's having an MVP season. He is right now the candidate for MVP in the NFL. Larry, just stand by a second. We got some business to take care of here.
Anyway, hockey, the Maple Leafs tonight in Dallas. The Stars, a favorite at minus 135 on the money line. The over-under is 5.5. The Leafs in Dallas. Whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment, from their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook, to their fully loaded casino and racebook, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994.
Hey, Freddie, where'd you go there, buddy? Your mic turned off.
It did?
Yeah, did you stop talking?
No, I haven't done anything.
Well, I couldn't hear you there for a second, just the last part.
The last part of
the Bodog, yeah, just went away.
Wow. What did you miss? What should I repeat?
Well, I don't know. You were almost done, so just say Bodog a couple more times and then we'll move on.
Bodog. Unparalleled gaming experience since 1994.
Oh, maybe that's where you stopped. I thought you had more to say.
Oh, no, when I said 94 and then I thought you were going to jump in.
Oh, no, well, you know what? It's too bad we haven't been working together. I would have picked up that clue.
I stopped because I thought you were going to start talking about boron or something.
No, I'm going to wait. Kelsey's. We'll talk Kelsey's and the Christmas party. Larry Fedoruk, are you coming to our Christmas party on Sunday?
Sunday, I actually am available. So,
well, you've been invited. I know. Listen, Mike Boone, our producer, invited all our regulars, and I thought you had been invited, but now you're officially being invited again.
Right.
Boone said he invited about 10 people. I just assumed that Larry was one of them.
So did I.
How would Larry not be? Huh?
As always, I'm just looking for a ride, because I don't drive. So as long as I get a ride, I'm there.
Well, talk to Mike, because he's going to head over there, I think, with Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Home. So maybe you and he can ride in the hearse with Brad. It'll be great.
Okay, I'm just being towed behind Mike's bicycle.
We're always happy to have a chance to chat with Larry Fedoruk, broadcaster, raconteur, podcaster, host of Later That Same Life. I'm trying to think. It was 1991. I was working with Fred, and I got a job offer to go to CKFM. And for a period of time, I was lucky enough to work with Larry and Maureen. Was Maureen part of that morning show?
I don't recall that. I don't recall her in the studio with us. In the studio was like mostly you and me. I don't remember who else was on the show.
Was she in the building at that time?
I think she was.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with you, and Andy. Was it Andy Bianchi was our producer?
Absolutely. And you and I flipped it. Well, you officially flipped it from CKFM to the Mix.
That's right. I was the first person to say that.
It's Virgin, isn't it Virgin now?
Yeah.
But anyway, the Mix was a going concern for many, many years, and the first, I think, person to utter that phrase was you.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Harry,
Labor Day in 91. Did you call me Harry?
No. I meant to say Larry.
Yes.
They call it Virgin Radio, but it sounds fuck to me. That's no lie
That's funny.
Hey, if we're reminiscing, Larry Fedoruk is the first morning man I ever worked with. That's 1979. You were the morning man at Chick, and
Right.
And my first time on the air, reading a newscast, or no, it was a sportscast, I guess. I looked through the window, and you were the morning man. It wasn't for long, but you were there. And then
I was there. I don't know. I think I was there about a year. But the story goes, I was living in Winnipeg, and I wanted to become a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And I had to move to Toronto to do that. And I actually called a guy named Ted Wallachin, who was not only a fellow Yuki guy, but also did stand-up, and just cold called this guy. Super cool to me, super nice, super encouraging. And my wife, who was pregnant at the time, about 6 months pregnant, we say, we're moving. Well, I have no job. I have no anything. I'm just going to go to Toronto and become a stand-up comedian star. We do this. I do a amateur night at Yuck Yucks, and I pass. So, like, of course, because I'm a star.
Yeah.
And I start booking, and within a couple of months, the Tonight Show is not calling, and I'm shocked at this.
Weird.
And decide to get a job. And what do I know how to do? I know how to do radio. And I'd done a morning show, so I drive to Brampton, and they were looking for a morning guy, and a guy walks in who used to be a morning guy and has a tape right here. It was like, can you start tomorrow? That was pretty much it, Fred.
Yeah.
I started the next day.
Again, when I came, I don't think you were there, probably just a couple of months or so, and then you were gone. But you were the first guy. You were.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
if I can bring it back to
Yeah.
my experience working with both of you, you know, when I left CFNY, which I was transitioning into, and by the way, I got a little transitioning segue coming for you, Larry.
Nice.
When CFNY, the spirit of radio, was transitioning into Edge 102, at that point, I wasn't leaving the Humble and Fred show because I didn't love working with Fred. In fact, of the people I've ever worked with, Fred has made me laugh the most in a studio and on the air. But in a very close heat, L-Fed here, I didn't really know what I was getting to there at CKFM. I went there, and it was Labor Day of 1991 when I said, welcome to the new Mix 99.9. And we were this morning show, Larry and I, and again, I for some reason thought Maureen was part of it. But anyway, in the studio, we laughed so much because we were both comics. We had a sort of a similar sense of humor, and of the people I've worked with, the two of you have made me laugh on the air for sure, but in the studio. And you know who's in third place? Who's made me laugh so much off the air? Colleen Rushholm. I'm telling you guys, like,
Really?
seriously, like, just that kind of when you're in the moment and then the record's playing and you're just fucking around with each other. She's very, very funny. That chemistry she and I had never translated on the air. I'd still be the morning guy there. But with the two of you guys, I always have laughed so much on the air and off the air. But Larry used to fucking make me howl some of the shit you'd say to me.
Huh.
Speaking of transitioning.
Yes. Okay.
How about this? Do you have anything to say about that, Fred, before I transition here with Larry?
No. I mean, again, it's been nothing but fun and laughs, and it's a great way to make a living, and you've been part of that. And Larry now, it's like, yeah. What more could you want, fellas?
Larry's latest episode of Host of, it's not called Host of, it's called Later That Same Life. Larry's, that would be funny if it was called Larry's Fedoruk. His podcast is called Host of Later That Same Life. The latest episode is about it's called Trans, and how the T in LGBTQIA is taking a beating. Explain.
Well, I was. It's kind of rolling in my mind the last month or so, and I decided to write about it and do a podcast about it. How it's not perfect, but the L, the G, the B, even the Q and the plus have seen more acceptance over the last few years. Again, not perfect, better than it was. But for some reason, there's been this backlash against the T, which is the transgender and the transitioning. We seem to be very uncomfortable. We, society, seem to be very uncomfortable for some reason with those people, the T's. And I think it's even worse, and you can disagree, when a man becomes a woman. Because it's such a male sexist society still, we're so uncomfortable with that. We're so nervous about this person possibly still with a penis is going to be in a washroom where my daughter is. And we just, despite Caitlyn Jenner and a host of others, we just somehow are uncomfortable with the T, and it's washrooms and sports that are driving us crazy.
I was going to say, I think let's do sports first. I think that's a lot of the controversy around the T's is how is this going to fit into sports with our children going forward? And I think that's, I don't know if it's hard for people to get their heads around it. It's a tough subject to debate because you want to be empathetic, but you also want to be. It's hard being empathetic and realistic.
Well, I think that where possible, I think our mistake was dividing the world up into two genders. So I believe that multiple genders are possible. The fact that also, and it's three things: it's parts, it's identification, and preference. So that's really what it comes down to. The parts I was born with, how I identify as related to those parts, and then eventually what I prefer my parts to interact with other people's parts. What parts should my parts be interacting
Parts
with?
always get you in trouble. That's for
point.
sure.
Yes,
I've made a lot of mistakes because of my parts.
So, and biologically, the male has a larger body mass, has a different physiology, it's different. And so when it comes back, if I'm bringing this back to sports, I know it's a little cloudy here, but if I'm bringing this back to sports, we've just divided it up between male and female that's been our mistake. Instead of saying, where possible, can we divide it up by height and weight, like they do in wrestling or weightlifting or other sports? Wouldn't that make more sense if height and weight were the divisions as opposed to male and female? In swimming, I know.
Fred, do you want to just jump in there?
Well, I have an unpopular opinion when it comes to this stuff, and it's like I just think the problem with the transgender thing is it's just been an overstep. It's like anything else in society. It takes time to let it work through the system. And having obvious men playing on women's sports and dominating hasn't helped their cause. And the mindset of those people, to me, should be, you know what, a little bit at a time. I think putting men in women's sports and then making all these declarations and making it part of the news and all that stuff has been to their detriment, to be honest. Plus, one other thing I will say. If a person with a penis feels uncomfortable going into a male washroom, and we're supposed to respect those feelings, why are we not expected to respect the feelings of a female who's uncomfortable with a penis being in her bathroom? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's wrong with... So if I'm a female or I'm a father of a female and I'm uncomfortable with a male going in the female washroom, why do you not respect that? And I'm not saying you. Why is that not respected as much as I'm supposed to respect the male who's uncomfortable in a male washroom? You know what I mean? Like I don't get it.
I think sports is a bigger problem than washrooms. First of all,
okay, but you brought up washrooms. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, I did, because it's driving people crazy, and I think that's the overreach. Because we never, in all of our homes growing up, we never had gendered washrooms. So everybody used the same washroom all the time. At the same time, well, that's how you solve it. Washrooms have stalls. There's single-use washrooms now. There's a ton of all-sex washrooms. There's one person use at a time. You lock the door. I don't know that washrooms are the problem. You know what I mean? There's lots of ways to get around. Everybody gets a washroom. Everybody gets their own little private pee break.
Yeah, if I could interject, though, if I may interject briefly, which is I think you're right. Washrooms is a solvable, and you know, Fred's got a point. Why isn't that okay? But it is less of an issue than solving sports, because again, if you were the parent of a young person who is definitely feeling like they're not at home in their own skin, you want what's best for them, but you also have to take into consideration, kind of continuing your point, Fred, on all the other people who are in that sport. And as far as height and weight, that might work for some sports, but it ain't working for a lot of sports. Whether that sport is golf, they're having a big issue on the professional ladies tours about allowing males who have transitioned to females to play that sport, because there's definitely a mass and strength advantage. Again, as it comes back to being empathetic and pragmatic.
Okay, but so here's the situation when it comes to height and strength. So, say golf, a transgender, a male who wants to identify as a female can't play because they're too heavy and tall. What about an actual heterosexual woman who's very tall and heavy? She can't play either now? She can't play either now? To me, and we've talked about it on the show, the only solution is like a non-gendered division or whatever you want to call it, a neutral, a division for those people, be it male or female. There's your division now.
The trans division.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's not bad, because that's to my point. When we spend our entire and the most egregious one of all is the Oscars and acting, the artistic endeavors. You get best actor and a best actress because Meryl Streep just can't do that heavy lifting that a Robert De Niro. Like, come on, some of the divisions of just male and female are ridiculous in sports. It's the only way we've ever done it, and why wouldn't we have a trans division? Like it's not ridiculous because that Leah Thompson. I should have had the name off my head. The swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania is the guy. Doesn't rank as a male swimmer. Transgenders, not to be a successful swimmer, but because he feels he's a female, and it's just setting records and winning everything. And it is. And the other girls are going, it's not fair. Because it's not fair.
It isn't fair.
I agree.
No,
it's not fair.
But here's I always bring it back to, if I'm that young boy's parents, you want the best for them. But if I'm the parents of those girls, and we've had this conversation, if I'm the parents of those girls competing against now transition to female, it's not fair either.
Yeah, it's not. And I guess my original point of this
was that again, Howard? I'm sorry.
I'm saying that the young women that this boy who became a young woman the women competing against them, it's unfair for them because they've been training. They've trained their whole lives to compete against other women in the women category.
Well, I saw some interview women that swam against Leah Thomas or talking to the parents, and a couple of fathers saying, we used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive halfway across the state so that she could one day become an Olympic swimmer or a championship swimmer. Never in the equation, never was it on our bingo card that after all this work and time and dedication, would she have to jump into a pool again and swim against a man? It isn't fair. It isn't. And, we feel horrible for that, for Leah Thompson. Is that the name?
Yeah, so I think we're all getting, I think there's Leah Thompson, the actress,
okay.
There's Leah, whatever it is.
Okay.
We know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. Horrible situation for that person. But at some point, you just gotta be rational and say, this isn't fair. And, quickly, one other father talked about he used to get his daughter to swim with the boys to improve her performance. She never won. She was always last or second last, but it was a training method to swim with the boys and chase those boys. And he said, now here we are. She's, in college and could go to the Olympics and everything and has to compete against a guy. It's just not fair when it was well established in her young career that she couldn't swim like a boy.
Right.
So Larry, I was going to say, can we put a pin in this for a bit and can we transition to a few minutes with you that aren't so prickly? No pun intended. Next up for you is your annual Christmas episode. For Later That Same Life. It's not called Host of Later That Same Life. When do these episodes, they're every Thursday, Friday, when are they?
Wednesday nights on my YouTube channel.
Right. The
YouTube followers get an early preview of the next or newest podcast, and then Thursday morning on all platforms everywhere. So
what can we expect? What can we expect from this episode?
Yeah.
So every year, this will be my fourth one. That's how long the Later That Same Life podcast has been limping along.
Nicely.
I do a Christmas tale, and it's so fun because I can, during the year when I deal with topics and you have to kind of do some research and figure things out and look things up, because it's so tough Googling, as we all know. I just get to make up a story, is what I do to treat myself as a writer. I just make up a story like my mother's shortbread cookies from scratch and just make up a bizarre story with just enough reality to make people think, is this real? And enough whimsy to go, this is so fake. So the first year I did a story about, a lot of people don't know that 80% of the world's Christmas trees come from the same country. And it's a small country, Eastern European country called Duvet. And I tell the story of how the country came to be and how they actually don't use Christmas trees in Duvet, but they export to 80% of the world's Christmas trees, live Christmas trees, come from this country. So that was number one. Then I did a story about Wonky the Christmas clown, a clown that I grew up watching on television. Last year I did a story about the only DNA evidence-based descendant of Jesus Christ living on the planet Earth today. So I did that. And then this year I'm doing a story about Mall Santa. So and again, if you don't know, you might go, wow, I got to look this up. This is a cool story. That's what I try to do with it. And for the rest of people, it's like, it's fake news, but hopefully it's entertaining. So,
and I love the fact that you do that, because I know that this podcast for you is a labor of love. Not this one, yours. Ours is a labor of despair. That's what this is. Humble and Fred, a labor of despair since 1989. But having talked to you recently about how it fills your day, and Fred and I can totally relate how it just gives you a purpose, and you're a writer and you love to craft stories. And one thing I say about your podcast, you're not mailing it in. It's well crafted, it's well produced, it's well written. And for you as a podcaster, broadcaster, it gives your week some direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And however sad you want to make that, or how
yeah.
That's it. That's what you got.
It's like it's that, and then mall walking.
That's right. And taking medication. But it does. And that's why it's the labor of love, as corny as that sounds, but it's true. And as creative people, you guys know, some of the stuff, you're not trying to make it up. It comes to you. It's like, I don't try and think these things. These thoughts come to me. What am I supposed to do with them? What's my outlet?
Good point.
And I've always had an outlet, whether it's a comedy stage or a radio show, or I've had an outlet. And podcasts give me this outlet to say, well, don't waste that thought. Write it down, expand it, do it, say it, and put it out there as a podcast. That's the thing.
No, you nailed it, because Howard's the same way as I still have people in my world that say, when are you going to retire? Retire from what? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at you. You're a prime example. If we weren't doing this, and we're lucky enough to have monetized this, if we weren't doing this, I'd be doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's
just keep doing it, like, because you have to. It's in you. You know.
Are you going to stop thinking and talking? Because that's really
exactly.
What we do.
Well, it's funny.
That's what this is.
Yeah,
right?
it's funny you say that, because beside this podcast, I've been doing a golf podcast with a guy named Tim O'Connor, who's a golf writer and a author of some golf books. But we've been doing it for 9 years, and no monetization. Some golf stuff from a few sponsors, but we do it because I love doing it. 9 years I've been doing that podcast. The numbers are, not very many people listen to it. And the reason I like doing it is because it gives me an outlet every week to talk about something I love. And Fred said something. We were on a call yesterday in the afternoon, and we were talking, and there was 4 of us in the meeting, and then there was 3 of us, and then there was just Fred and I. And we were throwing around, I was, talking about some numbers. And I threw out a number to Fred. He goes, well, if that's the case, I'm going to be doing this till I'm 80. And I said, why not? What else are we going to be doing?
Well, and I laugh when my family say, hey, Dad, or my wife says, hey, Fred, are you working tomorrow? Okay, if that's what you want to call it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm working tomorrow. Yeah,
that's right. The labor of despair continues to roll on.
Yeah.
Larry Fedoruk is a fine character and a friend of this program. His next episode will be out, I guess, tomorrow. Today, preview if you follow him on YouTube. Everywhere you get your podcast, look for Later That Same Life. We will cross our fingers and our toes that you'll make it to Kelsey's on Sunday to join us for our annual gift of Christmas. We'll get you some food. We'll get you some fun. It'll be nice. It'll be a nice day. And if not, Larry, happy Christmas and all the best in the new year.
Happy Christmas, happy holidays to both of you. Love you guys.
Love you, Larry.
See you on Sunday.
Okay, buddy. Hopefully we can get you
Love
there on
you,
Sunday
Larry.
somehow.
You bet.
Love you, Larry Fedoruk. Yes, indeed.
Speaking of Christmassy things, Dollywogger, Doll's Bark recipe is on the Facebook page, just for those that have been asking. It was posted yesterday, Dollywogger's Christmas bark recipe.
Well, that is a Christmas miracle. Well, that's what that is. Down. Let me see. It is there. Is it there? There is. Where is it? It's not there. There it is. Yep, there it is.
You know, on the transgender bathroom thing too. I mean, you got to be clear with it. A lot of both gender bathrooms involve one person going in at a time. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of small restaurants downtown have that, but it's one person going in at a time. It's not. I think the issue is in the the washrooms with several toilets or several urinals. Where you're sharing the space.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's but I think that, and I agree with Larry. Again, because I live downtown, to me that's less of an issue. I mean, it's an issue.
Oh yeah.
But it's a much, much lesser issue than trying to figure out something to do in the world of sports.
But do you not agree it's just too much too fast? I mean, you've got, you can look at people and say people should think this way, but at some points you have to understand why they don't think that way yet. It's a small climb. It's a lot for people to digest in a short period of time. And this male and female sports literally exploded overnight, really.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of things in culture and society, things happen slowly and then all at once. It only seems to have happened all at once, but it's been happening slowly in the background for a long time. And, we talked with Dan about, how things were different in the 60s, how the way we spoke about people were different, how attitudes have changed. So this transitioning thing has been going on for years and years and years until all of a sudden it's now in front of us and we're expected to adjust when there really hasn't been an adjustment period.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is a proper analogy or comparison, too. Look at the Paralympics. They have certain standards that whether you qualify or don't qualify as a disabled athlete, But it was determined somewhere along the line that they would have their own Olympics, their own category.
Yeah.
And it's been wildly successful. So what's the big deal of having a trans or whatever, again, you want to call it, competition or division
or a category. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the difference?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's all very good discussions, and that's why we're here to have these discussions. Also, of course, we're here to have a moment or two with this well-meaning, this fine character, the OG Sherpa, the Nibbles, Professor Nibblesworth, Tim.Niblett at RaymondJames.ca. We say, ho, 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 there he is, Santa Tim, making an appearance. Hey, partner.
Good morning there, boys. You guys have been hot and heavy today there.
Oh, things got a little spicy, Sometimes the Howman gets carried away with all the anti-Jew stuff.
Right. But Tim, let's put you on the spot right now.
Uh-oh.
Do you like fruitcake? Mm-hmm.
I just drink decaffeinated coffee, Fred. This is too early to ask me a tough question.
Fruitcake, yes or no, Tim?
Fruitcake, I'd go for no. I'd go for Doll's Bark first, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
By the way, speaking of Doll's Bark, I just looked at where the recipe is, and it is on our Facebook. Just scroll down a little bit, and I saw a comment from Fred's brother-in-law, Clyde, sweet man, friend of the show. Is he going to show up on Sunday? Love seeing Clyde.
Yes, I believe so, yes.
And Tim, can you imagine... Doll's brother says in a Facebook post, well, I've never tasted the fabulous Doll's Bark. Is that even true? Is that possible?
Shit.
It sounds like fake news to me.
That's
I can't
exactly
imagine that
it.
ever happening.
No, I know. Not from Bill.
Why would he say such a thing?
To be controversial.
It's at every family gathering for years and years and years. She makes it over Christmas, and then we have a Boxing Day get-together, and she brings a load. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. She
Believe
brings.
me. She brings a load.
I was going to say, yes, we know you're going, but what about the bark? Anyway, Tim Burley. It is the season to be jolly and the season of giving. And you ask this question. It's a great one. Are you taking care of your loved ones financially? Like, for instance, my daughter Spencer has moved back in with me for a couple months. Is that what you mean?
You're good then. You're all fine.
I've
in that
got it
category,
covered.
There. Well, you know, we've talked about in the past how we'll spend more time looking for flowers, or certainly golfing, or streaming, all of which are great things. But are we, paying enough attention to our finances, or having enough actions for that? And I just say, kind of in the Christmas Hanukkah spirit, we're going to spend a lot of time with loved ones, a lot of energy, and a lot of good stuff and all. And one of the best gifts we could give them, one of the cheapest yet most valuable ones, is to make sure they are doing the right things financially.
Yes, and how do you do that?
Well, you guys have talked before about with your kids about investing and all, maybe children, whatever the right phrase is now, given their ages, as do we. And so, take care of yourself first, right? Do you have a financial plan? Do you have the proper insurances? I mean, the financial plan's kind of for everybody. The insurances could be for yourself if it's a disability critical illness, could be for your spouse if it's life insurance, et cetera, et cetera. Do yourselves and or your parents have proper estate planning, depending on your age and stage of life as well? What our parents do with their estate affects us, and they want to do what's best. So have you had that conversation? Have you had a family conversation over your parents' homes or assets or their wishes or any number of things? So these are all kind of gifts that are arguably free and take a bit of time, but can keep giving for a long time.
Yeah. And as far as getting the message through to our kids, just getting in the habit, we've talked about this over the years, even if it's $50 a month, to just get in the habit of putting money somewhere, and then it can grow with your salary or your situation. But just getting that part of your world is so important.
Absolutely, right? I mean, it'd be fun to do financial plans for a 25-year-old or whatever, because that would help them conceptualize and visualize what today's actions could mean in the future for them. But yeah, if it's just as simple as regularly, paying yourself first, right? That phrase still exists decades later for a reason. If it's just taking 10, 20% of your paycheck into a TFSA at an earlier age, an RSP when appropriate, that's a huge difference over time.
Do you think, and I'm just basing this on recent conversations with both of my daughters, the youngest, who is back with me, just got herself a pretty good job, Tim. And when she found out how much taxes she was going to have to pay, she went from being this social justice warrior to like, what? What am I paying all this taxes for? Yeah. But I was pretty encouraged, both of them, and this is where I'm getting to the question. Both of them seem to have a good head about paying themselves first, and TFSAs and RSPs. So in general, have you found, I know most of your clients are of an older age, but do you think that younger people have become more financially literate than, say, we were in our 20s? Because my daughter Charlie's talking about some crypto she bought, and I'm like, I don't even understand what it means.
Well, I did hear that conversation or recreation or whatever. And that was pretty funny for sure about the taxes and all those good old things. But she became more aware of things that day, right? So that's always a good thing. I'm a big fact-based person, sometimes annoyingly to those around me. So I don't truly know if the young kids nowadays are putting their Xboxes down or whatever the heck it is now and investing more. I hope so. I definitely hope so. It'd be, we've always talked before, right? It's like with any habit, whether it's health, certainly wealth. What you do today, of course, matters, but like 20, 30 years from now, it makes like a exponential difference in what you've got. I saw a seminar and didn't pay enough attention to it with Raymond James forever ago, and the guy was talking about health and all, and he said, you can kind of get away with everything till you're 50. But then after that, all those things you should have done maybe a little bit different or could have done a little different.
Yes.
We're experiencing them, right? Start really coming in spades, and money's the same thing. You don't really notice the bad habits until later, but it makes a big difference today.
Maybe these kids have been reading some of the reports lately of the baby boomer shift in money. Trillions of dollars that's on the verge of being inherited by the generations below. Baby boomers. Maybe they're just taking the attitude, I'm just going to wait this one out. Till
maybe.
Mom and Dad croak.
But I can tell you,
that it's huge, isn't it? It's like that shift of money is going to be like amazing, like economy changing, is it not?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, just in the GTA, since I perceive that's where most, not all the listeners are from, but all the wealth that's in real estate that's going to eventually trickle down to the kids and all will just be absolutely huge for sure.
Well, I was going to say, I had the other daughter of mine who's been, in a pretty good job for quite some time. And I had this conversation again. This is just recently talking about finances. And, she just she'd been putting money away, but somehow or another, the concept of compound interest has intrigued her to no end.
Yeah, why
not? Seriously, she's putting away a lot of money. But she said to me, she had recently had it calculated what 30 years of putting money away can do for you. And I don't know. I don't know what age I was when I came to that realization. But the point is the younger you can get next to the idea that your money grows over time, the younger you do that, the better you're off as you get into your 50s and 60s.
Right, and just look at the kind of towards the end of the stage or the later stages of things. You've done the right things. You created all this wealth. Wealth to me is energy, right? It's the ability to do things or not worry about things or enjoy things. And back to the taxes, you want to structure everything so there's as few taxes as possible going to the government in the right way. And as much of all this energy you've created going to your family or whoever your beneficiaries are. It could be a charity, could be all the above, of course.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, we all have to pay our taxes because that's how this machine runs. It's just you just don't want to overpay. And any opportunity or loophole that's there, you should take advantage of, absolutely. Yet at the same time, paying your fair share. You talk about Spencer and the taxes. Remember, there used to be an old saying, and it went NDP at 20, Liberal at 30, and Conservative at 40. That's just a blanket statement, but it's true. Young people often, aren't used to paying taxes, and then all of a sudden a chunk is gone. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, it's easy being idealistic, until you're paying 35% of your income. Tim Niblett, you want to talk about a great gift to the people, the Retirement Sherpa, OG Sherpa. Tim.Niblett at RaymondJames.ca. I know we won't see you this Sunday. I think there's a rumor that Sherpa J is dropping by Kelsey's. But you'll be in our thoughts, my friend. And we wish you the merriest of Christmases and a happy, happy New Year. And, from the management and staff of the Humble and Fred Show, we want you to know how much we appreciate you. Appreciate you as a person and you as a supporter of our program.
Well, it's certainly our pleasure. Sherpa J is planning on being there for sure. And, hey, you guys are one of the best parts of our lives, and certainly by extension the listeners that we've met through things. We're with one of our faves today who you guys know, but we'll just leave it at that.
All right, keep it on the down low,
Yeah. So, no, it's all good. We've actually got a fair number of people checking in right now for second opinions and all, or transfers, or they moved, or changing life, so it's never a dull moment at our end, that's for sure. So happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and love you guys.
Hey, and Timmy, maybe your next visit we could discuss when we become the 51st state, what will that mean to our investment portfolios?
Yeah.
And
I would love to. I'm so jealous of my American pals to have Trump as their leader.
Yeah,
so,
I know. It's
hopefully
just
that'll work out.
Yeah, listen, man. Stay safe and strong, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Timmy.
Love you, Timmy.
Thanks, guys.
Right on, brother.
I got some stuff to do.
Like what?
I got some stuff to do. I got to get out. I got to get some Kelsey's, man.
All right. I got some chamber plan.
Okay. I'll tell you what. How about a little Dean Martin?
Mm-hmm.
Let me get started here.
Love
little
Dino.
Dean. Christmas Dean. On Sunday, we'd love to see you all. Invited, everyone's invited. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. It's Sunday at Kelsey's. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do some Humble and Fred trivia, Ask Humble and Fred, musical performances. Fred on Fred. Fred Ball's going to be there. Dan, Mike Boone, and you. We would, and of course, we're going to be selling and serving Humble and Fred's delicious, interesting all Canadian ale. And Kelsey's is the place to be. We're going to have lots of food, some wings, some things. You can kind of arrive around 11:30 or so. Yeah, we got to talk to you about when you're going to arrive because we're going to need to be there before.
Oh yes,
yeah.
I thought we had already discussed that.
Yeah, but I saw your note to Earl. We need.
Yeah, but I didn't want to make him.
Oh, no, Earl doesn't need to come in. No,
That's
Earl
what
can
I mean.
come.
He offered to help, and I thought I'm not going to tell him to come in.
No, he doesn't.
You know what I mean? So I
Earl
was
can come.
bullshitting him a bit.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
I just don't want Earl
can
to
bullshit.
Yeah, really. How weird was that last 20 seconds? It's a friend of ours. Anyway, doesn't matter. Kelsey's is where we'd love you to be. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. We'll be giving away Kelsey's gift cards worth $50 and free wings for a year. Join us at Kelsey's. Kelsey's always a great time. The original Roadhouse, kelseys.ca. Freddie?
Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business. Go to chamberplan.ca today. Get a free quote. There's a badge there. You click on it, put in all your information. You will receive all the information you need as far as how to become a member, what it's going to cost you, what is offered, the different levels that you can buy into. It all makes sense. There is a plan for you regardless of the size and strength of your business. There is a plan for you. Know that. And they do a great job on holding the line on premiums year to year. Very important for small business, where you're riding that financial line. It's very clever, the whole thing. It really is. And again, you can expect the basics, prescriptions and dental and travel insurance, but there's all sorts of products under the umbrella as well that you can take advantage of. The Teledoc system, they have a mental health component, an HR component. It's all there. You will be impressed, and it is all very doable for small business. Chamberplan.ca.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Dan Duran is back, and as soon as you appeared on my Zoom screen, you had your headphones off, and I was watching you. And you know what I was immediately struck by?
What was that?
I was immediately struck by the shape of your head. It really is it's quite something. Just you have the shape of your head is a perfect, I don't know what that is. Is that an oblong? But it's perfectly shaped. And I wonder to myself, when you look in the mirror, are you also struck by how wonderfully shaped your skull is?
Don't spend any time in it.
You spend
yes,
no time?
I do, Howard. Yeah, I spend all kinds of time in front of the mirror going, what shape of head do I have?
Well, it's different. Go ahead. Please.
No, how aligned is are my eyes and ears and things, and am I perfectly symmetrical?
Well,
These are questions that go through my mind all the time when I'm sitting in front of the mirror. But I've actually got a chair in front of the mirror now. I can sit down and just spend
See,
time
I know
with
you're
myself.
mocking me,
Must
but you
be
don't
nice.
understand. You're mocking, but you don't understand. He and I look in the mirror, and it's frightening some days. Like I look and I was going out to see my friend last night, and I was getting dressed, and I was, brushed my teeth and did something with my hair, and I just looked at it and went, oh, well, this is it. This is as good as it's going to get. I should just go. But you, with your perfectly shaped skull, it's just always ready. You're always ready. Fred?
No, I know. You've heard of Mr. Potato Head. He's Mr. TV Head. He just is.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. But I'm with you, Howard, so often. I have so much to be thankful for in my life, but so often I look in a mirror and think, why not just a little bit better? Why couldn't this aspect of me just been a little more attractive or a little more,
Well,
what
they always say, the grass is always greener.
No, I know.
Anyway, Dan, that's what
okay.
That was just my observation, Dan.
Okay. I maybe you guys should consider plastic surgery. Cosmetics. I heard a thing that men are considering that are, I guess, men with cosmetic surgery, the stats are up in North America.
Okay, maybe if you could see a good job. Have you ever seen somebody that's had it and you go, there's a good job? I know most of it is stars, like even Nicole Kidman, Howard, in that that Perfect Couple. There was a lot of close-ups of her, and it's not bad, but it's not good.
I disagree. I actually said this to my friend. I said Nicole Kidman looked pretty good. For considering she's had some work done. I think the best work done, from what I can understand, is work you don't notice. Like, we don't know.
That's it.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Dan's had a lot of work done. I don't know.
There's some stretching, though, to Nicole Kidman I could see in the...
Maybe.
But anyway, me, I'm being, as someone who's ghastly, I'm being way too
You're
judgy.
very critical. Mm-hmm. Well, we all are. Anyway, Dan's back. I'm not sure how much time you have, Dan. I know you're involved heavily with the Theatre Guild in fucking Peterborough. Well, maybe I'll save the story for tomorrow. I had an explosion in my microwave. Well, I'll tell you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Better than your pants.
I've had those.
Joke.
Yeah, I've had those.
Yeah.
So I'll save that tomorrow. I had an explosion in my microwave.
Fantastic.
But listen, let's get right to Dan Duran's news. Today featuring a festive introduction.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man, his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchor man comes, as for credentials he has none, can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here, he's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
Oh, that's very nice, Dan. Well done, my friend. And now live. And now live from the North Pole, boys and girls. Here's TV Anchorman. Have you ever played Santa Claus in a movie, Dan?
Nope. Never done that.
All right. Well, here's TV Anchorman, News Anchorman, and Humble and Fred News Editor, Chief Correspondent. It's Daniel J. Giebert, Duran III.
Okay, so TikTok. The annual carbon footprint may be larger than all of Greece's, the country of Greece.
What?
Report found the average user spends 45.5 minutes per day scrolling with TikTok annually, generating greenhouse gases equivalent to driving 123 miles in a gas-powered vehicle. So if you spend that kind of time, you're actually creating greenhouse gas with TikTok. Anyway, that's one.
What do you mean? How are you? Yeah, how?
Farting?
No, because you're using the technology, and it fires up the main computers at TikTok Central, and generates a lot of. It takes a lot of work.
Okay,
a lot of energy work to deliver those excellent pieces of content to your device.
I wouldn't even know how to get on TikTok, and I'm sort of
just download it. You just.
I know, but I haven't even had the interest to even do that, and I'm glad because it sounds quite addictive.
Well, I had it. My lady friend has it. Both of my kids have it. I had it for a while and had the sense that because of its addictive nature, I got rid of it. I mean, so you can still scroll through Instagram and Twitter, but there's something about the algorithm with TikTok that I found I could see right away it was too much. Dan, have you been on it?
Stop. Yeah, I did the same thing. I had it for a while and then said, I don't need this. Yeah, this is not good for me.
Yeah, I've never had the Instagram either, and that's way more popular than I ever appreciated, isn't it?
Man,
What does it do for you that Facebook doesn't? Isn't
It's
that
the same.
a
I mean,
ridiculous
well,
question? But
No, but I mean,
I'm going to be honest.
If you go to Facebook, so all these platforms now have a version of what Instagram does, which is Reels. It's just video after video after video. They're between, a few seconds to, I think Instagram's limit is 3 minutes. But it's just, okay, I follow Sarah Silverman. So it might be a 45-second video of Sarah Silverman doing her act. Or it's, Charlie might send me an Instagram of a funny thing that a chihuahua did. It's all the same. It's just the speed at which it happens. Pardon me. And the way it's put together, the way it's curated is the word I was looking for, is what makes it so addictive.
Right. It's sort of like that Reels thing, because I have a connection with Facebook through Humble and Fred, and I sent you guys the other day. Did you see that reel I sent of the little dog biting the big dog's bag?
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
But that's a perfect example. That's what TikTok, Instagram, that's what it is. It's just those coming in so rapidly. And I don't know what it was that tipped me off about TikTok is I guess I found myself, they call it doom scrolling, where you're just sitting there and pretty soon 45 minutes have gone by like that.
Yeah.
And you've gone down, and Freddie, you do this. I mean, we all do. You go down a YouTube rabbit hole, and the next thing you know, you look up and a couple hours have gone by, just like that. And you don't know how did this start? Because all of a sudden, you see something, and then on the side panel of YouTube, there's something else that kind of relates to it, and on and on. Well, what those other ones, TikTok especially, it's that, but in 40-second increments.
What was the old CFMY band that sang that song? One thing leads to another. That
the Fix.
That's a YouTube rabbit hole. Crazy. Yeah. Who sang? One thing leads to
the
another.
Fix. I just said it. You didn't hear
it. Was
me.
the Fix. Oh, was it the Fix? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Okay.
Very 80s sound.
Mm-hmm.
Early 90s
Wasn't it the Fix that we went to Vancouver to see?
No, that was In Excess.
In Excess, right.
Mm-hmm. Same number of letters in the in the band's name, though.
Right. Well, no. Yeah, it is. Yes.
While you two geniuses debate that, here's the Fix. It's one thing leads to another on the edge.
What a song.
Oh, yeah.
Just what are you trying to say? You got a blank face with irritants. Communicate, pull out your body piece. You see dimensions into. State your case with black or white. But when one little cross leads to shots, grit your teeth. You run for cover so discreet. Why don't they do what they say?
And now my impression of Dan operating our show in 1989. What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for that. Appreciate that. You got to imagine, though.
Dan, it was adorable. It was adorable.
It was adorable.
It was adorable at the time. A lot of the other radio stations were playing their songs all the way through.
All the way through.
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
We were alternative. You chose the alternative.
Right.
Yeah.
We were trying to do something different. And, instead of playing the whole song, Dan said, hey, guys, this will be cool. What we'll do is we'll just stop the song in the middle and come right back to you.
Yeah, well, I got mixed up on the buttons. Okay, so I was just going to say during that song, that's a really fun song to listen to. It's you got to imagine that bands who are recording songs like that must have had a blast in the recording studio putting it together.
I was going to say that listening to that's one of those songs that the guy who wrote it could sit back and go, I wrote that song, because there's something about it. It's got everything, that song, the words, the music, the Anyway.
Yeah, a lot of songs.
Anyway.
A lot of songs have words and music, but this one has.
You know what I mean.
I know. I'm sorry. You know what? Sorry for just trying to have a little fun.
No, I know. You're right.
Just trying to have some fun.
Words and music and it has notes too.
So the songs.
Instruments.
The funny thing is
instruments.
The songs that don't have words and music. That's just They don't do that well.
No, it's called humming.
No, that's music.
too.
No,
it's silence. We're
Silence
talking
is
silence here.
Yeah, I've got a Spotify playlist. It's just no words or music, just nothing but silence. All right, funny boys.
You got to watch what you say on this show. Whoa.
Okay, by the way, tomorrow it's all emails. There's lots of them. And I was going to have a chat with my partner here, but I'll do it now. The last couple of Thursdays we've been doing sort of 5 or 6. Should we extend it a little bit tomorrow? Because it's sort of our last one of the year. Maybe.
Yeah, we could do that. Yep.
You know, maybe what we could do is maybe take a little time if we have before the show to kind of edit some of them so we can get a bunch of people's names on the show tomorrow.
Right.
Without reading the entire thing.
Yeah.
Plus, Dan, you'll be not surprised, but I think you'll be happy to know that you're mentioned in a lot of emails.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking maybe we could save a couple for you when you come back after the email segment tomorrow. We could read a couple emails, things that people are saying about you, if that's okay. You know, mostly it's all complimentary. You're adored.
Oh, Dan's
is it?
beloved.
Okay, not
Dan's
always.
beloved.
Yeah, you're beloved.
I can imagine I say things that may piss somebody off.
No, not at all. It's more the opposite.
No, it's what we say about you that pisses people.
Your perfectly cylindrical skull is a friend to one and all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait to get off the air here and go to... Lisa, I've got a cylindrical skull. What do you think?
Lisa looks at your skull with admiration every goddamn day.
She must get up in the morning and go, how did I end up with someone so handsome?
Well, she's got a beautiful face, too, though. Yeah.
I know she does. I know. It's too bad they're too old to have babies. Can you imagine?
Oh, my goodness.
You imagine?
Well, Lisa's probably still able to, but Dan's 100.
Yeah, right.
Dan's sperm is actually going so slow it's backwards.
Yes.
It's just going back in.
It's swimming back in.
It just goes, oh, fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah, no.
Dan,
that's enough.
That is a slow load.
It's nice and warm in here. I'm not leaving.
What's nice and warm?
Inside Dan's ball sacks.
Yeah, he's shooting blanks now.
That's a Christmas story, just begging to be told. Inside Dan's ball sack, the Christmas sperm was swimming. Anyway, all right, I think that's enough. Is that enough? I got another show to do. I'm recording our last swing thoughts of the year today.
Ooh, what's exciting going on in the swing world?
Well, Dan, just so you know, as I mentioned earlier, and we don't have a very big audience, but Rudra Rishi Maharaj was quick to say, there might not be a lot of listeners, but we all listen every show. Maybe we're the ones who need the therapy. Very funny.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought you'd be talking about some new ball with new dimples or the dimple counts up or something like that.
Well, mocking Mary. No, today we'll be talking about a big match that took place yesterday for the first time since there was a split in the professional game between the PGA Tour and the LIV Golf Tour. There was a big match where two representatives from each of those tours played one another last night. Not shown in Canada, by the way, which kind of fucking was weird. It's on TNT in the States, but there was no Canadian carrier for some reason.
Crazy.
I know.
I could have watched it.
I would have watched it too.
Let me ask you this, Howard. Number one, and I'm not serious. Dan, what was your main story in the news? Like, I can't even remember your news thing right now. What was it?
You mean what we were talking about? The carbon footprint of TikTok.
Oh, the carbon footprint. I'm sorry. Yeah. That was 10 minutes ago. Sorry. Yeah. Howard, earlier in the show. I'm just jotting it down.
No, that makes me laugh because I would have forgotten. It was 10 minutes ago. I couldn't have gotten it on a multiple choice question. What was Dan's main story? I have no fucking idea. I have no idea. TikTok. Yes.
So I heard this conversation yesterday, Josh Allen. It was actually presented hands down the outstanding athlete in North America. I mean, we don't see enough of international sport. All round best athlete. And I said the major four. Would you argue that who's the big golfer over the past couple of years? Was it Scheffler or
Scotty Scheffler, yeah.
Would you argue that? Would you say there's an argument there?
In terms of what?
The number one outstanding athlete right now in sport.
You mean in terms of like, would he be in the running for that? I wouldn't think so.
Okay, no, I'm just saying if somebody said, "Oh, that's Josh Allen," because I can't think of anyone else. But again, I don't dabble in golf. Like, would you say, "Well, no, maybe Scotty Scheffler"?
In terms of dominating their sport, this kid that most people listening who aren't golf fans probably haven't heard of, just finished having a Tiger Woods, circa esque,
yes.
Had a very Tiger Woods-esque season, and yet it didn't punch through the sports world the way that Tiger would have, say, 20 years ago.
No, I get it.
He won a major. He won a bunch of significant events. Won the gold medal at the Olympics. Was on the winning President's Cup team. Won 9 times in the space of like 12 months. By far and away the number one golfer in the world. Player of the year, and yet didn't have the impact that, say, a Tiger Woods would have just a few years ago.
Right. And to be the GOAT, you have to do it over an extended period of time, too. I made the comparison between Brady and Josh Allen, saying Josh Allen much more versatile than Brady ever was. But Brady did his thing over a long period of time, and that's what Josh Allen has to do.
Well, and he also has to win. He has to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and win, yes. Mm-hmm.
It's you've made me to understand. You've made me or... You've informed me to understand that, there's even a chance that they won't get out of the division this year. They're going to come up against Kansas City, and so they have he has a great year, could be MVP, and yet, like the Leafs, may not even get to the Super Bowl.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So what is his career? It could
without
a
happen. Championship.
Yeah, without a championship.
Yeah. No, good point. Yeah.
I don't know.
Only time will tell.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, if you want to interview somebody who's had sustained a golf injury, Lisa's brother-in-law got hit square in the eye with a golf ball the other day.
What?
Yeah.
The other day. I don't know. Like, was he on vacation?
No, he lives in Turks and Caicos.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Just right square in the eye. He had to go to an eye doctor yesterday.
Like
from somebody like on another hole or something blasting.
I don't know the exact. I think it was something like that, but it was an errant ball. Obviously, it wasn't like he stood in front of it.
Somebody just asked
his eyes good, by the way.
Say, is he okay?
Yeah, he's got his eyes good. Had a little problem with. That's my fault.
Had a little problem with his vision.
Yeah, a little problem with the vision for a day or two, and then there was some sort of floater in his eye, and
that's not good.
It's all good now. No.
Can you imagine the damage a golf ball would do to your teeth if you took it flat, like in the mouth with
all your teeth would be gone?
Oh, Jesus!
I've known a couple of guys that got hit in the head and had to go to the hospital. Like, you can die if the ball hits you in the temple. Remember how when we were kids, how concerned we were with hitting one another in the temples? And we just, now I go days without even thinking about it. No, you remember like when you were roughhousing as children? Don't hit
kill you.
Oh, yeah,
don't hit him in the temple. That fucker will die.
Soft spot on the top of your head, that one too, right?
In fact, I think this is the first time in 2024 I've thought about something hitting me in the temple.
Yeah, well, don't do that.
Used to be obsessed with it. Hey, somebody just asked us which Kelsey's the event is happening. Fred, do you have the? It's Kelsey's. It's
Burlington on Dundas and Appleby line, I believe, is the intersection.
Okay.
Yes.
But we should. Well, we really should clear that up for people. If you don't know, it's as Freddie said. It's Dundas North Kelsey's, and it's this Sunday, the 22nd.
There's a big parking lot around it too. So.
Yeah, it's the Dundas location. I believe there are two in Burlington. Yes, Dundas.
This is another note from our friend Christopher Welch. Says, sorry to bug you, but my son has his last soccer match in Hamilton on Sunday. Thinking we can slide by Kelsey's on our way to Mississauga. Are children allowed? Yes, they are. Christopher says, no worries. He's used to cussing, especially in Yiddish. Hoi gewalt. Yes, cussing, children, Kelsey's, locations, it's all there. Are you guys gonna wear something special? You gonna wear some festive Christmas stuff? Dan, will you be sporting a Christmas cap of some kind?
That might be a good idea. Lisa always is encouraging me to wear a hat to these kind of seasonal events now. So.
Dan, don't you have a Christmas cardigan too, don't you, of some sort or something?
You know, it's in storage, I think, somewhere. I've lost track of that thing.
Oh.
I love that thing.
Well,
not many people did, but I love that thing.
Well, I'm sitting here remembering it right now. Me, who doesn't remember anything. I'm sitting here remembering your Christmas cardigan. What does that say about it?
Well, it says you couldn't remember he talked about TikTok 8 minutes ago, but...
No, that's true.
Well, I've had an impact to Fred's life.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Hey, another thing that's having an impact for people that are interested in sports is our good friends
Feeling
Fedoruk.
stuck on the sidelines?
Hey, watch where you're walking, man.
When life gives you too much to tackle?
I'm gonna need that draft tomorrow.
You know it's time to play. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. Get the latest sports odds and free tips to help you go all the way this football season. Visit Bodog.net today. # make a play.
Also on the show tomorrow, besides your emails, I hinted at an announcement. I said a big announcement. I thought it was pretty big, but we're going to talk tomorrow about some of the changes that are coming to our program starting in January of 2025.
So medium announcement then.
Well, you know what? I don't want to give it an adjective because apparently I'm overblowing it. But I'll just say this
Oh, it's so funny Dan just said that.
What did Dan say?
It's medium. It's not big.
Yeah, it's medium. It's a medium-sized announcement. Tomorrow we'll talk about some of the changes coming to our show. For the most part, the content will not be any different. The content's going to be the same. We're going to be the same. We're not retiring. We're not giving the show to somebody else. Everything you listen to will be the same with a couple of minor differences that are going to be, that I'll tell you what, maybe it's not going to be a big announcement for you, but it's a big announcement for us as we continue into year 14 of this podcast and how things are evolving. And, we're both pretty excited about it.
Maybe announcement's too much of a thing. Maybe you should just
a declaration.
Well, that's strong too.
Well,
An explanation.
An explanation? What should it be?
A communication.
We're going to talk about.
Yeah, but the idea of show business is to say, "Oh, we got a big announcement coming," so people are all excited. If I say,
see, that's over promising, under delivering.
Well, you don't know
want
that.
to do it the other way.
But what the whole show is over promising and under delivering. Fuck.
Yeah.
So what excitement is there in? Well, I've got a medium declaration on Thursday.
Or you could say, "Hey, on what day is it? Oh, tomorrow. Yes. Is tomorrow? Right. Is that true? Tomorrow's tomorrow.
I just
it would be. We're going to explain a few things on the show.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Well, so you know what? Here's the thing. You two are good at what you do. Just let me handle this part.
Yes.
Tomorrow, a big announcement on the Humble and Fred show. And we're going to keep doing this show. Don't worry, we're not going away. I want to keep doing this show till 1, 2, or all of us become semi-senile because that'll just be fun.
We're already there.
I know. Mm-hmm. But I want one of us to get really bad one day.
When you're senile, do you know you're senile?
No, that's the best part about it.
So we'll never know anyway.
We'll never know.
So at some part we got to say, well, it's this from this point on. This show may be people who are mentally incapacitated. So from that point on, they advertise it that way. Is it, unless that's the big announcement?
Yes, we're going to make an announcement that one of us has got the Alzheimer's. Tomorrow on the program, your emails, this announcement. We're going to have a discussion about the evolution of the show. Thanks to Larry Fedoruk. As always, thanks to Tim Niblett, the retirement Sherpa, for all he does. And now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy the sounds that come out of this beautiful skull. The cylindrical skull.
Cylindrical, yeah.
of Dan Duran. Dan?
Okay.
Skull?
All right, this episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show was brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, and if you want to come to our big holiday get-together at Kelsey's on the 22nd, Here it is. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Something you can do to help us out is subscribe to our podcast and maybe, I don't know, tell your friends about it. Rate the podcast. Do one of those things. We appreciate it. From the Jamie Sobel Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, even if you listen to tunes without words or music, enjoy every goddamn day.
Where's that?